Did they really just post that? Look at me, out here living life. Maybe if I show some skin. Is your ex trying to make you jealous on social media? Well, confession time, guilty, been there, I've done it. I want to talk a little bit about why I did that. Why was I trying to make my ex jealous on social media? So maybe you could figure out why your ex might be doing it to you. Well, for me, it started at the end of my last relationship, which was a 6-year relationship, and the breakup took a long time. It was really hard. I've discussed it a little bit before in my other videos. At the end of that relationship, I did not want to end things. That was not my plan, and I was holding on for dear life. So when my ex continued to move away, when he finally left the house and he wasn't going to the therapy appointments that we were supposed to go to together, I was desperate and I was freaking out. And what do you think I did? Come on, it's the logical thing to do. I went on social media to try to see what was happening. So because my ex was the one who broke up with me, I felt really crappy about myself. First of all, I felt undesirable. Why couldn't I keep this together? I thought I was a good person. I thought that I was working to make this relationship happen, and I felt like a failure because it wasn't happening. He was pulling away. Honestly, it was more than that though, because we had gone through so many fights and I had kept so much in about what we were going through because I was trying to save the relationship, that I felt like other people who we had mutual friends, they weren't going to fully understand the situation, and he was just going to glide on like nothing happened. He was the best person in this relationship. He tried to take care of me as best he could. And I was upset about that. I was not okay with that. And whether or not they were actually moving away from me, these mutual friends, it felt like they were, because on social media, nobody was really responding to me. Because honestly, when a breakup happens and you're friends with both people, nobody really wants to get involved. It's very uncomfortable and you don't know what to say and you don't know who's telling you the truth. So people, I think, were a little I don't know if I want to get involved here. But for me, it felt like I was losing a giant group of friends all at once when I really didn't have a lot of friends of my own separate from my partners to begin with. So I was on social media trying to do damage control, basically, trying to see what was he putting out there and what was I going to put out there to manage people's thoughts about what happened here, because truthfully, he put me through a lot, and I think, yes, I did some things wrong, but I don't think it added up to quite the same amount that he did. Obviously, that's coming from my perspective, but that's where I was at. That's where I was at when I was checking social media. I wasn't very pleased with what I was finding because I was having a really hard time with this breakup and I wasn't really hiding it. I'm not the type of person to hide how I feel, so whenever I did post, it was kind of moody and it wasn't that great, and it was quotes and that kind of stuff as far as I remember. Now, everything that I remember seeing my ex post was not so bad, mostly positive things, to be honest, and I just generally was frustrated about the whole situation because, again, I felt like behind the scenes maybe he was managing people's expectations. Whether that was happening or not, that's what I was feeling. Eventually, I found out that he was seeing somebody, and we were still technically in therapy, and even though we were kind of broken up, this was not something that I had agreed that was okay, and not that he had needed my permission to do what he needed to do, but I had requested it, and after 6 years I had hoped he would give me some courtesy to respect it, but no. So you can imagine that I had some jealous feelings here, and it wasn't necessarily that I felt terrible about myself at this point, although that was definitely playing in here. I just felt frustrated. I felt like this is crazy what's happening right now. I can't believe that he's moving on like this, and I was just upset about everything. There were definitely some posts, especially after I had moved out and we had kind of settled everything, where I was like, this is a little much. I feel like this was meant for me to see and to upset me in some way. Maybe it wasn't though. Maybe it was just to pump up his own self-esteem. But again, you take things personally after a breakup, and I took things personally. So when I saw these pictures, when I saw these posts, I was upset. I did feel like my self-esteem was going down a little bit because it felt like he was winning. It felt like he got to decide how things looked and how things went down, and he got to walk away as the confident partner who did everything he could for the relationship, which to me was the total opposite. I did everything that I could for this relationship, and that was upsetting. I think after a breakup, we all kind of have these dynamics where we feel like we have to one-up the other person. It's a little bit of grandiosity, a little bit of narcissism, where we feel like we have to look good. We have to look like we're moving on from this confidently, and we feel like maybe sometimes we have to do it fast or something. I don't know. All I know was it was hard. So my reaction to seeing all of this was I was not going to let this happen, basically. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to show you that I'm moving on and that I'm okay. So I went ahead and I created what I was considering an artsy or a fun little thing that I was doing. You could think of it maybe as an Instagram thing, but that's not what I was doing. But anyway, I did like a bunch of selfies, like more professional selfies than normal, and I tried to make it look like I was having fun, like I was expressing myself, and I genuinely was, but it was also manufactured. And in a way, you could say that I was trying to make my ex jealous because I wanted him to see them and see, like, you're not affecting me, buddy. Like, I'm doing my thing, and you can try to move away and you can try to pull at my strings, but I'll pull right back. Whether or not that was effective, that's another story. I don't even know if he really saw them. I don't know if he cared if he did see them, but that was why I was trying to make my ex jealous. And you know, we didn't have that kind of a dynamic where we'd be like posting back and forth and like one-upping each other, but I could see very easily how that could happen really quickly and people could get things really ugly. What's the solution here though? Because if hurt feelings are going to happen after breakups and people are going to post on social media whatever's going on in their life, whether it's to make somebody else jealous or not, people are gonna get jealous. Like, what do we do here? Because this sucks. I think for one thing, we have to remember that our ex may not actually be trying to make us jealous. It could be that they're just expressing themselves or they're living their life. They may not actually be thinking about us when they make those posts. And I know that's kind of hard to understand. Maybe they just are doing it for themselves in their own confidence, and maybe they're not thinking about you, which again, that sucks. But I think we have to be careful not to jump to the conclusion right away that our ex is trying to make us jealous. It may not actually be about us. But even if our ex is trying to make us jealous on social media, the thing is, we can only get jealous if we allow it to affect us. Now, I understand when you first see something, it's going to hit you and it's going to affect you and you're going to feel all those feelings that you're feeling, and that's totally natural, that's totally normal, and go ahead and feel those things. But also try to keep in mind that your ex can only affect you as far as you let them affect you. So if you see something and it bothers you, just don't look at it anymore. If you have to, block their account so you don't see it anymore. Go off and do other things. Live your life. Build up your self-esteem if your self-esteem is low. Be honest with me now. Have you ever tried to make somebody jealous on social media? I think we probably all have done it just a little teeny tiny bit if we've grown up in this modern age of social media. So have you? What was your reasoning? Let me know down below in the comments.